Hey guys, Filmington here. This video is going to be about my Alex Bregman collection of cards, but before I get there, I wanted to talk about something else first. It'll help support my reasons why Alex Bregman is the buy low card to get right now. Yes, even after he was featured in the playoffs and had a very nice second half, I still think his cards are underpriced. So before I talk about him specifically, I wanted to talk about the factors that go into MVP voting and how that has changed over the last decade or so. Here in 2006, we show that Ryan Howard, who finished first in MVP voting, he got 20 first place votes over Albert Pujols, who got 12, only finished with a 5.2 WAR. So WAR is wins above replacement. It is a Geek Stat that is composed of sabermetrics, and it is something that is being used more and more frequently. If you watch baseball, especially MLB Network, they cite WAR and other stats that I will be talking about soon quite a bit. But here you'll notice that the Triple Crown categories, home runs, RBIs, and batting average, Ryan Howard beat Pujols in 2 of the 3. And even though it was only, a 10 to 15, maybe 20% difference in home runs, RBIs was actually less, only a difference of about 12. Albert Pujols had a 18-point lead in batting average. He had a higher OBP, a higher slugging percentage, and a higher OPS as a result of that. And he did have 7 steals too. And his team went to the playoffs. Ryan Howard and the Phillies did not make the playoffs in 2006. But Ryan Howard still ended up with 20 first place votes, and Pujols only ended up with 12. So this is something that is very good proof of how things have changed over the years. And now if I flip to this tab, you'll see what happened in 2016. And this is when Geek Stats like WAR started to be paid attention to in closer detail for the MVP voters. So you'll see that with Trout and Betts in 2016, these guys finished first and second, by the way. Home runs, Trout 29 to Betts 31, pretty close. Runs 123 to 122, pretty close again. RBI, Betts had 13 more. Batting average, Betts had a slightly higher batting average, so that's 2 of the 3 Triple Crown stats that go in Betts' favor. Stolen bases were pretty close. On base percentage goes to Trout, as does slugging by a little bit, and OPS goes to Trout. Now, this is one that at the time a lot of people thought would go to Betts. His team went to the playoffs, and Mike Trout's did not. And Trout ended up with 19 first place votes, and Betts ended up with 9. So this was a little shocking just because of, again, 2 of the 3 Triple Crown stats did go in Betts' favor, but Betts did not win the MVP. Trout did. You'll notice here that Trout did have a higher WAR of 9.6, quite a bit higher than Betts' 8.2. So I have these 3 Geek Stats highlighted because I think these are the ones that you'll want to look at going forward, probably starting in 2016, 2017, for how MVP candidates get decided. Of course, helped if the players' team goes to the playoffs. It doesn't matter how deep they go because the voting is done before the playoffs begin. And then in 2018, you'll see even more of a sign of the favor towards the Geek Stats. So Trout and Betts, pretty similar games played. Trout had 7 more home runs. He had fewer runs, about the same RBI. Stolen bases is 6 steals less. Betts had a higher average, but Trout had the higher OBP. Slugging went in Betts' favor. And OPS, which is on base percentage plus slugging, actually favored Trout. So based on the stats that we saw, specifically the Triple Crown ones and also OPS, which is a stat that is looked at as well, probably more so 5 years ago than it is today. But then you have these Geek Stats. 2 of the 3 favor Betts. Weighted OBA, that is just, it's basically a different formula for OPS that has to do with the quality of a player's plate appearance. It's not tied to how many games he plays. So he could have a really high weighted OBA even after like 1 week of games. Weighted RC plus is weighted OBA, but it's adjusted for ballpark. and for league, which is kind of interesting. And so these are just indicative of a player's offensive performance. And then you have WAR, which factors in defensive performance as well, although offensive performance is given more credit. So Mookie Betts had the higher WAR, he had a higher weighted OBA, he had a slightly lower weighted RC+, and as a result of that, he received a ton more first place votes and almost won it unanimously versus Trout. So 28-1. So looking at these stats on the surface or at first glance, you might think that in 2018, these players' performances were actually closer than in 2016, or maybe not that much different in regards to the disparity. But now voters, I feel, are looking more towards these Geek Stats. And then they saw that Betts went to the playoffs and Trout didn't, so they gave him even more of an edge, and then it became a unanimous decision. So now, first, we're 6 minutes into the video, we're going to be talking about Bregman for the first time. He finished 5th in American League MVP voting at age 24, 31 home runs, 103 RBIs, 10 steals, OPS of 926, pretty solid Geek Stats, 396 weighted OBA, weighted RC+ of 157, and a WAR of 7.6. So he didn't get any first place votes here. He finished in 5th overall. But if you compare what he did this year versus what Altuve, who won the MVP in 2017, did in that year, you'll notice very similar Geek Stats. Slight edge to Altuve. WAR was the same because Bregman played more games. WAR will increase the more games you play. So Altuve got, of course, 27 first place votes and beat Judge pretty easily that year. So what I'm trying to say is that if Bregman posted the same season in 2018 as Altuve did in 2017, then he could have potentially stolen, 10 or 15 maybe first place votes away from Altuve that year. Having said that, 2017 wasn't really a normal year. Trout did miss a significant portion of time, much more time than he missed this year. So Trout would have still won if he was healthy. So I think it's important to note that. So Bregman, a very solid player. He was kind of lost in the shuffle of guys that had very good offensive seasons this year. And in a typical year, I think he would finish in the top 2 or 3. So then moving down, we have Arenado. A lot of people think this is the benchmark for a third baseman. Well, here I've posted his best year by WAR. And by the way, these Geek Stats are slightly different based on the computations of Fangraphs versus Baseball Reference. Here I have the Fangraphs statistics. So Arenado's best year was 2017 based on WAR. According to Fangraphs, he had 37 home runs, 130 RBI. Of course, we all know him to be one of the greatest defenders in the game, and he only finished with a WAR of 5.6. So WAR, alike weighted RC+, is ballpark and league adjusted, and Arenado is a guy who I don't think he's hit, I don't think he's had a 500 slugging percentage on the road in any of the last 3 seasons. So they see that Coors is a big hitter's park, and they bump down his weighted RC+. They knocked down his WAR, and there he is at 5.6, even though his defensive WAR is really off the charts at 9 here. But it wasn't enough to bump him that much higher than like a 5. So, and that's again Arenado's best season so far. So Bregman at age 24 has had a greater season by the MVP voters' standards than Arenado has ever had, which is and by a lot. It's like 30%, better based on that WAR statistic. So JD Martinez. So I wanted to talk about him because he was an interesting case where he didn't have the highest WAR and he finished ahead of Bregman in the MVP votes. And that is because voters give more credence to the offensive part of the WAR. So 50.3 is right about in line with 51.4. But then if you look at these other Geek Stats, which I said were important, 427, 170, really damn good. He beat, I think, everybody except for Trout and Betts with those stats. Jose Ramirez is probably right around that, but voters saw the 427 weighted OBA as an improved metric of the OPS, which, by the way, is also very good at 1031, and they saw the 170 RC+, and that's why JD Martinez finished ahead of Bregman. Of course, they both went to the playoffs. Now, you might be asking why Francisco Lindor didn't finish in the top 5, because he actually had the same WAR as Bregman of 2018. He had a really terrific season, but if you dive a little bit deeper, you'll see that most of that WAR, or a lot of that WAR, is comprised of defensive WAR at 21.1, defensive WAR not being looked as seriously in voters' eyes, and his weighted OBA is a lot less than other people on this list, 368, and his weighted RC plus is 130. Again, these are offensive metrics purely, where the WAR factors in defense. So I know that was a lot. Hopefully, you didn't get too lost. But this is just, I guess, a nice statistical preface to my Alex Bregman collection. I got some more stuff on here, but I don't need to talk about it. I have 2017, and I showed Votto and Stan's statistics here too to further prove that it's all about the Geek Stats. But we don't need to go into that in detail. Let's get to the cards. That's why you guys joined. All right. And I'm going to make a challenge here that nobody on YouTube has a Bregman collection as good as mine. And it's hard to quantify good in some cases if you're talking about stuff outside of value, but I'll just leave it to that. All right, first card. 2016 Bowman Chrome Refractor, 9.5 auto 10. On card auto, nice looking. It's got a 10 subgrade for surface. Pretty nice. Card number 2. This is another 2016 Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto Refractor. Number to 499, I believe. And this one's got 3 9.5s, 1 9 centering, BGS 9.5, auto 10. Card number 3 is a purple refractor from the same 2016 set. This one has got pretty good subs for a 9, but it's a BGS 9 auto 10. Number to 250. Here is card number 4. It's another purple refractor, BGS 9.5 auto 10. Alex Bregman. 2016 is Alex Bregman's most desirable autograph Bowman Chrome card. He does have 4 right now. 2010, 2011, those are both USA cards, sticker autographs, and he does have a 2017 as well. And this is card number 5. This is a green refractor, 2016 Bowman Chrome, BGS 9.5 auto 10. Nice looking card. This one's numbered to 99. All right. Card number 6. This is a 2010 USA Alex Bregman autograph. He's probably about 16 or 17 years old in this picture. So sticker autograph. This is a raw card review, 9.5 auto 10. I'll probably be submitting this to Beckett because I think it will get a 9.5. Centering on the front is pretty good. Corners and edges look sharp. I'd have to open this to see if there are any surface scratches on it, but it looks pretty clean from a surface perspective. Number to 50. This is a orange refractor, 2010 Bowman Chrome, Alex Bregman autograph, USA, BGS 9.5 auto 10. This one I might be selling on eBay soon, so find me on eBay, handle Filmington, if you want to buy it before I sell it to somebody else. And here is a 2011 Bowman Chrome red refractor, numbered to 5, Alex Bregman. This one's just a BGS 9, autograph 10. Does have an 8.5 surface, unfortunately. 9.5 edges, though. And that is it. So, Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like Bregman. I think he's a solid player for reasons even outside of the Geek Stats and my theory with the MVP voting trending in a different direction. But let me know what you think. Subscribe, leave me a comment. Take care.